Hey, welcome back, guys. Today I got a really interesting drone to take a look at. It's kind of the spider looking drone. I thought it looked really cool and I was glad I was able to get it to review because it has such a unique look to it, but it flies really well, and we'll go over that in just a moment. Now, it's a modular drone, and that's what I would call it. And you know, it's kind of like, they may call it a DIY drone or something like that, but it lets you assemble it. You see these unlock buttons, you press these in and you just pull the arms out and you can assemble the entire drone that way. So I didn't really want to necessarily go through the entire assembly of this because you can see it takes a little muscle to do it. But that's how it goes together. You just match up the arms. This is A1, so it goes into A1. You just press it in there and they snap right in. Really easy to put it together though. It takes a little muscle to take it apart. And it just snaps in there like that. You just make sure you get them lined up with the right number and letter, so that it has the correct propeller on it. It's got green LEDs in the front of the drone, which are actually quite bright for toy ones, and red here in the rear. Now I've got one of my green LEDs does not work. If I flick it and hit it, it'll bump the arm really hard. It'll flash for a moment. It just has a short in it. This is the first time in 2 years of reviewing drones I've ever had a drone with a bad LED on it. So I wouldn't be concerned about that because, as you can see, it's a very rare instance. It just happens to be something bad in here. It's definitely inside of the light. It's not with the connection to the arm. The motor works just fine for the drone. So pretty cool how it assembles. I mean, it flies really, really well too. The box shows that there's a red, a white, and a black. Of course, I've got the black. There is a camera version of this. I don't know if there's more than one version, like a 0.3 megapixel and 2 megapixel. I don't know. Of course, this is a camera-less version, so I couldn't tell you on that. I'm kind of glad to have something without a camera. Just fly it around for fun line of sight. Don't worry about that Wi-Fi FPV. You can see the camera would go right here in the front, and you can see it here in the box too. That's where the camera goes. Pretty neat drone. Like I said, it's got altitude hold, so that's about the only special feature that it has. It flies really nice. It's pretty aggressive. It has pretty good pitch, so it can handle into the wind, even though it's going to be really slow going into the wind because it's a toy and it's pretty light with brushed motors. But I was flying in the wind yesterday and it did really well. I was surprised how sporty it is. Of course, some of that was with the wind at its back, so of course it's going to be fast. The yaw increases with the rates. There's 3 rates, so I was flying it in the highest rate. It has enough pitch that it will sort of dive bomb, even though it's altitude hold in the highest rate. But that's to be expected in these toys because when you get that much pitch, it's going to have a hard time maintaining its altitude. So just be mindful of that. It has an it says auto takeoff, but it just spins the motors up and you have to give it throttle. But it does have auto landing. It has an auto yaw feature, which I'll discuss, which I don't know. I've seen that before. It's a gimmick. It just makes it spin around like a flying saucer or something. But it's one of the little things they've added to this particular drone. But the modular design, being able to take it apart is a nice, because you can snap it apart relatively easily and then put it in a very small bag, and it's very portable rather than this larger size, like this. And I like the way this design just going to be very easy to land. It's not going to tip over, props are not going to tip over and land on the grass or something. It's very, very stable to take off and land, but it is a bit noisy. I think that the manufacturer, I didn't mention this, is Hongwang. That's the only place I can see a name that looks like a manufacturer. There's nothing on the box, there's nothing on the instructions. The model number is the HM7016, which I'll include in the description of the video. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories here. You've got a 900 milliamp hour battery. I got 7.5 minutes flight time. That's pretty good for a drone of this size. I was pretty happy with the flight time. About 30 seconds of that was the LVC, and I was able to see it flashing even though only 3 of the lights are working on this. The lights, like I said, show up pretty well for a toy drone, though it was cloudy yesterday. You always have trouble seeing the LEDs on a bright day. This is going to take you around 1.5 hours to 2 hours to charge it up with the provided charger. It's a little USB charger with a red JST plug on the end. Of course, most hobby grade chargers have red JST, so the second on this charge here, I've actually used my hobby grade, and that took about 43 minutes at 2C, which is 1.8 amps. So certainly charge it up in half the time using a hobby grade charger. And it comes with a Phillips screwdriver for doing repairs, and it does only come with 2 propellers, which is kind of unfortunate. These propellers can't cost them more than a couple cents to make, so I don't know why they don't include a full set. But I don't think in this design you're too likely to damage these propellers unless you would fly it into something. Even then, you know, the legs are going to kind of, I mean, it's not too likely you're going to need to replace these propellers, I don't think. The controller, it's pretty nice in the hands here. It's pretty comfortable. It's a little odd design. You can see in the middle here, this is made to put your cell phone, and that's of course for the Wi-Fi FPV version. So it feels like, it looks a little odd having it like this without a camera in there, without your phone in there, because this is the cameraless version. But you know, it works just fine. This is your power button here. You've got your pitch and your roll trim here on the side. Over here on the left, you've got your 1 key rotation, they call it, which is your auto yaw, where it's just going to spin in a circle. You got headless mode here on the left. On the bottom here is your 1 key. Well, they call it 1 key takeoff, but it just starts the props, and you have to give it throttle. And your 1 key landing. And here on the right, this is your it says a 1 key return. So this is just going to fly back the opposite direction it was facing at takeoff. So I don't usually mess with headless mode and 1 key return. You got your auto yaw, and you got your 1 key landing, and your starting your props. Now on the top here, this is your video and camera, you know, photo and video. You have to use multi-use for the bumper. I don't like that on a lot of these, where you have to press the right part of, you know, the correct part of the bumper. But this is for the camera version, so don't disregard it if you have the cameraless one. This is your 3 rates. It is, you know, not real loud to beep, but it's got 1, 2, and 3 beeps. I recommend the highest rate, especially if it's windy. And this is to your 360 flips, and the 360 flips really, really nicely. Very good 360 flipping quadcopter. But because this quadcopter is rather noisy, you know, I did have to get it right up near my ear to hear how many beeps this was making for the rates, which is partly because I don't think it's real loud, and I said the quadcopter is quite loud itself. So, you know, the only real cons I have is you know, this quadcopter is quite loud. So that's just something to be mindful of. But you know, it's a geared quadcopter. It's not direct drive, so again, that's not all that uncommon. So I think to calibrate the gyros, it was both sticks down and out, which is kind of odd. That's kind of like your typical direction for motor unlock, but it does flash when you first bind it. You do your up down, it binds, and you'll see it flash. But if you need to calibrate the gyros again, it's both sticks down and out. All right, guys, well, I think we covered everything on this drone. I said overall, not a bad flying drone at all. I really like it, and it's an inexpensive drone, especially if you buy the cameraless version. So it's Hongwang is what it says the brand is, a funny name, and it's the model number again is the HM7016. All right, guys, let's move along now to the flight review. Okay, guys, so I have the Hongwang drone outside here. I'm just gonna call it the spider drone because that kind of looks like a spider. Let's go ahead and we'll turn it on here. As you can see, the front here, you can see it's flashing. This front, this is the front right. This light's not working, but like I said, that's just a fluke thing. You're not gonna, if you buy one, with the chance of that happening is not very good. Now, I was hitting it yesterday. I was able to get the light to flash at times. It's just it's a poor connection in there of some sort. Let's go ahead and we'll set it down here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the controller. Just do your bind sequence of up down, and it's going to be flashing here. There's a bit of sun, you know, out today, so the LEDs are not easy to see as like when I was flying it yesterday when it was cloudy. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put it up. There's a bit of a breeze. I'm gonna go ahead and well, I'll take off in the lowest rate, but we'll switch it right up to the higher rate pretty quickly. So let's go ahead now, and the bottom button here will just unlock the props. Like I said, for some reason it does not take off. You can already tell, you can kind of hear those props and that design and those gears is a bit noisy. Let's go ahead and take off. It is, you know, those lights are maybe a little more important on this drone than some of the other ones because it's kind of easy to get confused to where your front and back is on this design. I've flown enough of these drones where it didn't really bother me much. And you can still see the green and red pods. But, you know, typically you obviously want those lights to all be working to help with orientation, especially if you're a beginner. But 3 of them, I'm able to fly just fine with no problems. And like I said, that's not something you're going to typically see. So here's the yaw on the lowest rate. I'm going to go up to medium rate and now to the highest rate. And you can see it is, it does increase. It flies nice, but it is noisy. Like I was pressing the button there, you could not hear it beep, could you? I couldn't hear it. Let's try it again now. There's 1, that's the lowest rate. 2 and 3. I don't know if that's going to be able to be heard in the video or not. Even in my microphone, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear that. If so, it's going to be very faint. So it's very, very low volume on the controller for the beeps. And then to try to hear it over this noisy quadcopter, it's very difficult. So you just have to, you know, put it up to your ear or just know what rate you're in when you're pressing it. As you can see, look, that's pretty darn sporty now. It's altitude hold, but it's tending to dive, you know, a little bit there. We're in the highest rate. I find the highest rate the most fun. Medium rate's fine too. The lowest rate's a little bit, you know, a little bit too slow for my liking, but it would be just fine for a beginner. That's why they put it there. Let's go ahead and do some flips while we have adequate battery power. Let's go ahead and press on the outside of the top bumper, and then the way you want to go. It takes it just a moment before it does it, but it does pretty good flips. Raises up, it's nice, it's not sloppy. Loses a little bit of altitude and then regains it, but not enough to gripe about. 1 to the left. Overall, pretty good flipper for this size and design. Now here's the auto yaw. I'll bring this down a little closer so you guys can see that. You just press this top button here and it's going to start spinning. Now press it again to cancel it. The problem with that, as you can see, is look, I crashed into the fence, and the reason why is I lost my orientation. When you're doing that and you're doing it that quickly, you better be very close because this is going to be extremely difficult to regain your orientation. Even for someone like myself who's flown a lot of quadcopters, it's going to take a little bit of either locating the lights or doing some pitch and roll inputs just to try to figure out which way it's facing. You see I've scuffed the prop here a little with white, but the props are not damaged, so there's no real concerns there. We'll try that one more time. And some of you are probably gonna think, oh, he's a lousy pilot. But no, it's just, I mean, anybody that flies something like this, if you do the auto yaw on a quadcopter this size, very far away from you, you're gonna lose orientation. It's just, I mean, if you get lucky and it happens to stop spinning right in the same direction you're facing, well, you might be able to get by with it. But if you're going to use the auto yaw, make sure you're doing it close to you so that you have some time and you don't end up losing it somewhere. If you do it, you know, you do it 100 feet away or something like that, you may not regain orientation and you may end up losing the quadcopter. So I would not use that feature unless you're really close. Like I said, because of the design of this quadcopter, those lights are a little more important than on some of the other toys. And of course, like I said, I've got one that's out, but it's not really, that's not affecting me. Let's go ahead and press that again. And you just press it again to stop it. And now I can see which direction I'm facing. Just took one input of the pitch and I was able to see I was facing the wrong direction and I was fine. So I couldn't see the lights well enough just that little distance away, even though I could see them just fine here. But when you're not pitching forward, then the lights are, look at that right there, the lights are not easy to be seen. So that's a sporty quadcopter. especially for altitude hold. Just really noisy, but that's not that uncommon on these geared drones with those type of propellers on it. Let's do that auto yaw one more time, but I said keep that really close to when you do that. Let's stop it there, and now I can see which one I'm facing towards myself. So the trick on that, at least for me, is if you do the auto yaw, and as soon as you stop it by pressing the button again, give it a little bit of like a pitch input just to see which way it tilts, and then you can determine which way you're facing. Forward pitch. Give it some forward pitch. Let's see, does a direction input stop the auto yaw? Let's bring it closer here. I got quite a bit of wind from right to left here. I think it did, yeah. It took it a moment, but the auto yaw was canceled by giving it a pitch input. But I would use the button just to be safe. It's really getting blown around here by the wind. That flew pretty good for me yesterday to the wind, but when I'm really low to the ground like that and the wind whipping through there, it tends to confuse the barometer a bit, and that causes it to bump it into my into the pool safety cover. But you can see it's doing just fine there. But if you're in the highest rate, just be mindful that it is going to want to nosedive a little. You see it doing it there. Let's go into the middle rate. Let's see how the middle rate does. See, it doesn't have as much pitch, but if it's not too windy, it'll be fine. It's not as fast, but it's not dive bombing on me as bad. I still prefer the highest rate, but you see it's kind of getting some barometer issues there at times with the wind. I didn't notice this much yesterday in my test flight. I'm going to go up to the highest rate that I could hear 3 beeps. I think it might be on low battery now. It was quite a bit of flying. Yeah, we're flashing. So that was also part of why it was doing it there. I couldn't see that I was on low voltage LVC. Because, you know, I got 7.5 minutes. I imagine, you know, time always flies on these reviews. That probably was over 7 minutes, I'm guessing. I always lose track of time whenever I'm filming these things. And I think, oh, it's only been 3 minutes. Well, no, it's actually been 7 or 8 minutes. So I'm assuming that's the case. So this is overall a pretty nice little drone. It's not perfect, but boy, it's a lot better than some of the other ones I've reviewed lately. Just be mindful, it's gonna, you know, nosedive a bit on you whenever you're going full speed ahead. It is a bit noisy, you know, and the auto yaw, you're gonna lose orientation if you're very far away. But again, that's, you know, that's to be expected with something like that. So be sure to subscribe, guys. If you're not subscribed, I really appreciate that. Make sure you press the bell so you know when I upload a new video. It's so easy to forget to do that. So it's important to do that so you don't miss a review of something that maybe you're wanting to get your hands on. And as always, guys, have a good day.
The power of the dark side.